Hi everybody, it's Sha Marie. I'm going to do a tutorial today for this necklace that I showed in my finished jewelry collection from the Spring Blossom set that we got from Bargain Bead Box. I did have a request for a tutorial for it, so I'm going to show you that today. And before I get started, I just want to show you some options that you can use if you don't have the Spring Blossom, or if you've already used this portion of your Spring Blossom box. There are plenty of other things that you can use in place of it. This here is Indian agate, and they are also the same size beads, which is an 8mm as the rose quartz was in this one. And I have this pretty little Indian agate pendant. I just got the pendant. I put the bail on it myself, so that wasn't already on it when I received it. But it's quite a pretty stone, so that's a pretty option. And I have these, I don't know if these are dyed hematite or just a faux turquoise, but they're like a turquoise nugget. And I had this cute little, and this one I do believe is dyed hematite, little peace sign, which would also make a nice replacement for it. The thing with the nugget beads is they're a lot larger, and you wouldn't use as many of them, so that would fill up your necklace a little bit quicker, which I guess could kind of be nice. You wouldn't have to wrap so many. And I also have this pretty blue agate. I guess it's a turquoise teal. I'm not really sure. I call it blue, but and then this real pretty agate. If I can get my fingers up there. Pretty agate stone, little druzy stone. So that'd be a pretty option as well. So basically you could use anything, anything you have in your own stash. Here's some tiger's eye with a tiger's eye pendulum. These beads are 10mm, but they would still work just the same. And I also have some carnelian over here. There's a couple of carnelian options for a pendant. You could do a pretty little bail on it, or some wire wrapping, or whatever, and then some nice pretty carnelian beads. So there's a few options for you. If you do have rose quartz beads, but you don't have the pendant from the bead box, just any rose quartz little pendant would work. I have this pretty rose. It's a little carved rose, and this came from one of our previous boxes, and it's just got this little bump out with the hole in it, so I just ran a jump ring through it. So that'd be a quick option. And this one also came from one of our bead boxes. This one wasn't too long ago, and I just slipped on one of those little slip-on type of bails. Put that on it, and again, a little, I guess, pendulum pendant, not really sure what they call them. And I'm not going to bother to take these last two out of the package. They're just different shaped pendants that are already wrapped. One in silver, one in gold. But any option that would work, you could use on it. You don't have to stick to necessarily the contents of the box if you don't have it all, or if you didn't receive it at all. So that's just a few options for you. Now to get started, you're going to need memory wire. You're going to need your wrapping wire for the herringbone wraps. And I'm using a 26 gauge artistic wire. You could probably go 24 and it would still wrap pretty well. I don't think I'd go 28, I'm much thinner, but you could probably go, one wrap up, as long as it's not too stiff and you can't wrap with it. And you're going to want to cut 30 pieces. I cut mine approximately 10 inches long. That's more than I'm going to need. I'm going to end up cutting pieces off, which I don't mind doing that. I use my cut off pieces. I just make little wrapped, well, I'll try to show you one of them if I can find it here. I just make little wrapped head pins with them, so I can use them in other projects, and that's just my cut off end. So you can always use them for something if you'd rather do it that way. You can work from the spool. I can't, because I get my fingers fumbled up and I make a mess, and it's just easier for me to cut it. But if it's more comfortable to you work from the spool, then, you know, feel free to do that. Either way. You're going to want your beads from the box, or whatever you choose to use. These are the rose quartz 8mm beads from the box. And the pendant of your choice. And again, this is the one from the box. I'm getting a lot of weird shadowing here. It's the trees, the light coming through the trees. So I apologize for that. And then for tools, you'll want a pair of wire cutters. You'll want a pair of some type of wires to grip with. Pliers to grip with, not wires, I'm sorry. Your round nose pliers. And I use these. These are my old cutters, and these are what I use to cut my memory wire because I don't have memory wire cutters, so I just specifically use these for my memory wire because they're crappy anyway. Don't use your good ones. Don't use your good ones. You will ruin them. So after you've cut your 30 pieces of wire and got your beads and everything together, you will end up needing one jump ring. I just got this little pretty, it's kind of a, I don't know what they call it. I guess it's just a textured jump ring. I'm going to keep dropping it evidently. And then on your memory wire, you're going to want to cut 2 rings, 2 complete rings. If I can find the end, I will do that. I'm going to fumble around with it because I'm on camera. Oh. I apologize. I should have straightened this out beforehand, I guess. Didn't think it was this bad. There we go. There's the end. So 1, 2, 2 complete rings. I go just a little beyond just because the bead does stretch the wire some. And snip it so you've got 2 rings. And then you take your round nose pliers, and please keep in mind I'm no professional, and I'm certainly not a teacher when it comes to jewelry. I will show you what I did to make my necklace. Hopefully you can follow it and understand it and give me grace if I am doing anything wrong. Just grab your end of your memory wire like this, get it right down there. I'm going to go somewhat up on my pliers because I don't want it to be too small. And just give it a good turn under. I like to turn mine just beyond the wire. I don't know if you can see it. It's just beyond the wire. And then close it up like a memory, like a jump ring. Sorry, like a jump ring. And just kind of pull it in. That gives it a nice, smooth, flat. I didn't get that one quite in there, but. And it brings it up nice and tight. You don't have a gap that way. So, then we're going to take one of our wires. Each of these beads will be worked individually. You're not continuing on with your string from one bead to the next. So, cutting your wires is perfectly fine because you will cut it in between each bead anyway. And so I just kind of get it started. 1, 2, probably 3 wraps is good. And then squish them together nice and tight. And I'm on the wrong end. Let me move it up. Hold on, just. You're supposed to start on your opened end, not your closed end. I'm getting ahead of myself. So now if I can string it back through my hole, there, get it back on there and started. So you want your open wire, your working wire, your length, to be facing your opened end, because when you slide your bead on, that's where you're going to work. You can go back about inch and a half. And let's cut our beads free. So then you slip your bead on. Well, find the hole and slip it on. There we go. And you're going to want to bring your wire around your bead and across the front of your wire end, like this. Wrap it around, come back up, and then turn it, because you're going to want to go the other way. This will kind of get in your way a little bit. You can kind of just move it to where it needs to be. And you can twist and turn these to make it work easier for you too until you've pushed them back, and then you're going to tighten them up. So bring it back, down your bead again, back across the front like you did before, underneath, and all the way up around, so you've made a complete loop. And then go turn it again. So you're going to go underneath the wire that's already there that you just did. You're not going to go above it. You want to go under it. And then when you get down to the end, go back across the top of this wire. Wrap it around it and bring it back up. And then when you turn it again, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to go under the wire you made previously, across the top of your memory wire and underneath, bring it around, and you can start to see the herringbone shape forming. Turn it back. We're going to do this 3 times on each side, so you can have 3 wires running down the length of your bead on each side. Again, underneath the existing wires, across the top of your memory wire, wrap it around, turn it back, down underneath the existing wires. I'll try to get it in there a little closer than it is, but can you see? Again, across the top of the memory wire and up around, and that will complete this one. Got 3 rings here, 3 here. So I'm just going to wrap this around one more time to secure it. And then your memory wire will kind of get in your way a little bit until you get closer to the end. And then you want to go in and snip it real tight. That one and this one. Pinch it down a little bit. Not too much, because you don't want it to squeeze against your wire until after you've moved it to the end. So that one is completed. And you're going to do each one individually like that. And there's 30 of them. And I might have pinched mine a little too hard because I'm having trouble moving it up my wire. But you're going to move it all the way to your rolled end. And then once you get up there, then you can kind of give it a little squeeze to lock it onto the wire. And that will kind of help lock it for you. So then you do, like I said, 30 more of those. So you take another wire and get it started. So then you get them on there. I just did 3 little wraps, pushed them together to get it started. And then take another bead. It's starting to get very shadowy in here, isn't it? Let me see what I can do with the light. There we go, that's a little better. That's better. Let's put another bead on. Bring it down the side, up over the top, and around. Turn it. Down this side, up over the top, back around to the front. This side is harder to work because your wire gets tangled up a little bit more than your open side. bring it back around. And again, like I said in my video showing my finished jewelry, this is a technique I saw Vaughn Williams do, and she described it so well, and she was easy to follow. So if you're having any troubles following mine, check out hers. She's been at this for a long time, and she does really good videos, and she's very slow and patient and calm, and it's easy to follow her. So if you have any trouble with this, just, refer back to her, or, just watch this 2 or 3 times. That's what I usually do. So go underneath the existing wire, up, around, and back, out the other side. Again, down, underneath this wire, up over the top, back out around. If this wire is in your way, you can always trim it off now. It doesn't really matter when you trim it off, so I think I will get rid of it because it is kind of in the way. So, then again, down underneath this one. And there will be a little gap sometimes. You can squeeze them together afterwards. Over the top, back out the side. You should always be on the top. You should start on the top and end on the top. And then back down under this one. Across the top. Oops, sorry about that. So we got 3 on that side, 3 on that side. So this one is done. Wrap it. I do twice. Trim it off. Try and get some more light in here. And then again, slide it up. They do slide hard sometimes. Sometimes I just hold on a little bit with a pair of pliers and just helps me to pull it. So you just push it up till it meets that one. And they will move around a little bit on you until you get to the end. They'll tighten up when you start getting to the end of it, and then you start rolling your last roll on the end of the wire. That'll really help tighten it up. But you can, like I said, give them a little, oops, wrong pliers. Give them a little gentle squeeze. You don't want to squeeze too hard. You don't want to just shape everything, but just a little squeeze will help it bite onto the wire so it doesn't move on you so much. So we'll do one more, and then I'm going to pause and get to where the point is for adding the pendant, because I don't think you want to watch me wrap 15 of these, or 30 for that matter. So again, I wish I didn't have so much shadows in here too. It's really hard. Let's see if that helps any. So again, wrap the wire, 1, 2, 3, squeeze them together. Add your bead. Come down the side of your bead and across the top of your wire, underneath, back around. So you're heading back towards the other side of the bead. I am going to trim this one out of the way and get it so we don't have to deal with it. And that'll get pushed down when I push it back to the end and squeeze it. I don't do it right now because it will cause it to be too tight on the wire and you can't slide it. So bring it back around. Cross the top again. And you are going over those wraps, so don't think you have to go up above them. And then cross the top so I'm facing the other way again. Underneath. And then up over the wire, underneath and around. So I'm pointing back the other way. And again, same thing. one more on this side, makes 3, round and back. One more on this side is our last one. Over the top, around the back and back again, because that's our last one. So I'm going to do it one more time. Trim it off, pinch them together, and they will pinch together some for you too when you squeeze your ends. Evidently that spot right there is there we go. So there's 3 of them on, and I will pinch this one as well. That way you can see how it helps bring those wires together a little bit. See, it pulled those wires right together. Not on this side quite as much, I guess, but so there's 3 herringbones on there. Alright, I'm going to pause now and try to get this finished up to the point where the pendant will go on. They're all still kind of floaty right at the moment, but we'll tighten those all up at the end. And I'll be back. So I'm back. I've done 15 beads. And I've tightened them up. And now I'm just going to add the pendant, and it's simply just added with that pretty little, let me find the right tool here, with that pretty little textured jump ring that I had. You can use anything, and I think this is a 10mm, or approximately a 10mm. I apologize for the state of my nails. I've been sheetrocking. I've destroyed them, unfortunately. Sheetrock is really tough on nails. It's tough on skin, it's tough on nails. So just close it back up. I need another pair of pliers here. So you will need something for a second pair of pliers just to help close your jump ring. And then that's just going to go right down to you. When you put your other one on, it will slide in and cover the wire as well, and then your pendant will just kind of hang in between there. And then you just go back to doing what you were doing, wrapping the beads on. 1, 2, 3. Give it a pinch. Put on the bead. And then again, bring it down the wire, wrap it around, bring it down the other side of your bead. I'm going to cut this off. Across the top, around the wire, back out again. And back facing the other way. Wrap it under the wire that's existing. Sometimes it can be a little tricky, but you can get it under there. Under that existing wire. Back over the top of the wire again, so it's facing out the other way. And again, under the wire you've already got on. Over the top, underneath. Back out around and across. And now we've got 2 on each side, so we only need 1 more. So go under the 2 wires that are already on there. Over the top and around. Back out again. Under these ones. Over the top, and this is our last one, so I'm going to give it an extra wrap. and then get in there tight, clip it. So when I push it up, it's going to push that pendant clear to the, so that's how it's going to set. Your pendant's just going to set in there. So when you wear it, it's just going to kind of, you know, dangle down. You want to make sure you get that one up nice and tight to the one that's already there and that your jump ring's not in the way. Again, come in and just give it a squeeze to hold it in place. I'll use the other ones. And that'll hold it in place, and it will also hold your pendant in place. So again, same thing. Just continue on with your, oops, get it upside down there, with your remaining 14 beads at this point. And we'll be back. And I'm back with the final bead. So I'm going to wrap a couple of times here. Of course, now that we're at the end, there isn't a whole lot of room on the end to get your wire, you know, where you're very limited is what I'm trying to say on how far back you can work here. So you are working right at the end. I think I'm actually going to give that just a couple more wraps so that when I do my herringbone, so that I think I did 5 there, just to give it some space when I do my herringbone in between those 2 last ones. I guess maybe I can go up a little. Well, so we'll, same thing, go across, over the top, excuse me, back down the other side of the bead. At this point, you really need to make sure you don't lose your bead off your wire. Over that one, under, and up and across. Turn it back, being careful not to lose it. Under the, oops, doesn't want to go under, there we go. Under that wire, across, under that one, across and over, then back again onto this one, making it 3, over the top and out, and then this one will be 3, get this one cut out of the way while I'm right here. And then wrap this one twice. Cut it. And now that I'm at the end, I need to make sure that where that one's not going to get slid down, I need to make sure I close it up nice and tight there, and make sure I get that little piece that was poking out. This one, of course, there's no pokey end, but you do want to clamp it down a little bit just to give it some support. And then at this point, you just take your round nose pliers again. Try to make your loop nice and tight. Make sure all your beads are up nice and tight, so that when you roll your loop, you're bringing it in. And if you needed to trim some off, you could. Mine happened to work out pretty good. And just roll it. Again, I roll it back beyond my wire, and then I just kind of wiggle it into place like a jump ring so that it closes up nice and tight. And there is our completed memory wire necklace. If you end up with extra wire after you've done your 30, I didn't. Mine came out pretty good. It's probably all going to depend on how loose your spaces in between your beads. So if you end up with a little extra wire after you've done your 30, you can, I mean, you could go longer if you wanted to. You could bring it completely around. You could do a whole nother ring if you wanted to. But, you know, just trim it off so you have that 1/4 inch of wire to roll back and roll it to the end. And I went ahead and did this end up to show you what you could do for an option. You can leave it just the way you want, Or you could put a little jump ring with some type of little dangle. You could, you could just do something like this. You could put another bead, something just to finish it up and make it look cute. Or, just leave it the way it is. It looks, looks perfectly fine this way as well. It just looks finished off. So there is my tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it made sense. Yeah, if you liked it, give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe. I would love to have everyone subscribe. The more the better for me. And, you'll be alerted when I make more tutorials, and I do intend to get more of them out there. So, yeah, until next time, I will soon be putting out a video with all my finished jewelry from the May bargain bead box that we just got. I think that one was called Cloudburst or something, with a lot of gray and whites. So I will be putting my video of my finished jewelry out for that pretty soon, so watch for that. And until then, have a good day. Bye.